Okay, welcome everyone to another day of green all over. This is Marita Esteva with the Path of Ish. We are talking zero waste in the elemental body, and I'm so honored to be joined today by Ash Guadalusi woman. And if please correct me, I probably said that wrong. She's a tattoo artist, a filmmaker, a photographer, an illustrator, a writer, a healer, a seeress, and a medicine woman. So Ash, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. And let's just kind of jump into it. As you see, again, I like tattoos, so I'm really excited that you're here talking about tattoos and your kind of journey. So let's talk about your journey. Tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got to where you are, and share anything you'd like to.
Okay. Well, I grew up all around the States, mostly in the South. I didn't have a stable home environment or even a family in that kind of traditional stable sense. So my home was really developed as my inner world when I was young, and my connection between spirit and earth, and finding my home kind of in between the two. I went to school for art and design. I wanted to be an illustrator, which I am now, but incorporating a lot more into that path. My grandmother, who is my sole caretaker, she passed away when I was 18, and she was a super mystical woman, and loved, she read tarot and was like, taught me about energy and how it moves throughout our space and our body, and astrology and all of the mystical things. And when she passed, I inherited all of her belongings and teachings and everything, and kind of just that's when I began on my spiritual path. I started reading tarot, and I moved to New York shortly after, and that was kind of where I really dug into healing as a form of expression.
So Ash, I want you to kind of talk about, I know you love roses, but you also talk about working with natural elements, especially flowers. Can you tell us your connection to them?
Yes. Basically, we're all flowers. We're all unique, one of a kind, blossoming elements of the earth. And when we can see ourselves in flowers and connect to them, we can take from their energy and really shift our awareness and heal ourselves in profound ways by just connecting to the medicine of the elements. So each each flower, each plant has a very specific energy and medicine to offer us. And if we're all if we all can become a little bit more aware of that and connect to plants in that more mindful way, it can completely like shift our whole consciousness.
Wow, that's amazing. Let's jump into, flowers are very feminine, and I know you talk about
Mm-hmm.
divine feminine. So can you talk about kind of how you use that energy in your practices, your practices, or in your tattoo practices?
Mm-hmm. Um, Feminine isn't necessarily female as we know like that term to be in our like modern culture. Feminine more is the energy of being receptive. It's more of our it's our inner wisdom and our inner knowing, and how kind of spirit moves through us, whereas the masculine is like acting out that spirit, but the feminine receives it. So when I'm working with divine feminine, I am using that energy to bring like myself or my clients, or whoever I'm working with, to come back into that receptive place so that they can receive. And the earth is one of those divine feminine energies too, of creation. And it's kind of like the divine feminine really is the void which all is created. It's that like unknown, deep kind of flowing state of being.
Wow, that's beautiful. So when you're tattooing,
Mm-hmm.
how does kind of the connection to nature happen? You talk about flowers, and you talked about, so is it like when you're tattooing maybe a rose, not that you tattoo roses, are you trying to instill that plant energy? Um,
Mhm.
is that kind of
So there's a lot of different ways that I work with the flowers in my work. When I am reading my clients' energy and like doing the meditation with them, I'm receiving wisdom from the plant. So I'll receive just like a flower will come to me, and it will give me the medicine that I need to reflect back to my client. So for example, the rose is a symbol of the divine feminine. It's a symbol of having unconditional love for yourself and others. So if that symbol comes through for a client, I know there is a connection that needs to be made to the heart and to the feminine energy. So if I'm working with that symbol, um, I'll either use it in the form of the tattoo, like actually tattoo the rose. I will work with it through essences. Like I'll use a lot of times, or every time, I'll use flower essences in my ink to just add a little bit more of like a vibrational remedy um, to the ink. So I'm actually like imprinting on skin that vibrational medicine beyond just like the symbol, which holds so much vibrational medicine too. And then I'll work with plant elixirs, hydrosols, all sorts of kind of like flower elements, just, burning herbs, lots of different things. And it's all very unique to each person and what they're needing. So it just comes through as medicinally like what they need.
I love that vibrational energy. I'm really excited
Mhm.
to get a tattoo for me one of these days.
Yeah.
We'll, we'll set that up later. But
Yeah.
um, so a lot of people say that the eyes are the window to the soul, and if that's so, what would you say the skin is?
The skin is the temple that houses the self. So it's how we present ourselves to the world, but it's also a reflection of our inner worlds. Because whatever is like happening on the inside, like whether it be energetically or, everything's root is energetic, but whatever's happening, it's going to be reflected like on our skins. And I think through like the ancient practice of body art, it's a way to like reflect the soul on the skin.
Now, can you tell me a little bit culturally, kind of traditional ancient tattooing versus kind of what's going on now?
Yeah, I think that um, our modern society, our culture now really forgets how ancient that this practice is. The way that we see it in our modern culture now, that's a very new thing. Tattoos were like not even legal in most places until like the late 90s, early 2000s, which is like, yesterday, which is crazy to think about.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, it's so new, and it's so normalized in our culture now, and it's not mindful at all, so we don't think about those things really. But it's actually so ancient, and it didn't begin with like one culture or like one tribe or one area of the world. It was really divinely downloaded from spirit throughout like lands everywhere. It's something that existed all over the world in ancient times. And one of my favorite stories of the origins is dating back to ancient Egypt. And in ancient Egypt, the female seeress or shamans were the only people who performed the tattoo art, and the receivers were also only women. So it actually was so feminine, and it was really to honor the womb and honor a female's power of creation. And now in our like modern culture, it's a very masculine industry, and not unlike many other industries that have feminine origins. But we've definitely like have gone so far away from when tattoos were used as like protection and spells and like honoring the sacredness of the body and the sacredness of the connection to spirit. And now it's like you just walk in and you get like that thing off the wall, and nothing wrong with that if that's what's calling to you, but there is a much more conscious and mindful way of doing it, which is the way that humans have always been practicing this art.
And so is your attempt and your way, your soul tattoo, and we can start getting into that a little bit, a way to bring that conscious connection again and connect people, again, like you said, to their temples, to their houses, to acknowledge this is my temple and it is part of Mother Earth. So is that what you're trying to do with Soul Tattoo?
It's a few different things. It is to get us in touch with our body and to bring us, like, to ground our spirit. I think that the way that we're conditioned in, you know, our modern culture, we are so disconnected from our bodies, you know, just in, you know, like moving throughout our everyday life. So that is like one important thing for me, and really connecting to the body and caring for the body is kind of like the first step in my work. But it's also to acknowledge one's divinity, like to acknowledge one's limitless spirit nature. So it's really like bringing what the soul is asking for, what the spirit needs or the spirit wants to step into, and like bringing that out onto the surface as like a reminder or medicine or a symbol of empowerment. Like that's really what these tattoos serve as, and they really do activate the spirit and connect the body and spirit.
You just said something that I love, activate the spirit. So do you think this form of tattoo and can activate us as almost as like activists, in that when we put our things on our body, we are forming a connection to Mother Earth that reminds us, and I'm just going to speak in circles, that reminds us of our connection, so we can then act in a flow of accordance, you know? Do you think that's true?
Yeah, exactly. It's really like, I think about like when I'm working with my clients, it's to bridge that connection so they can live out their soul's purpose. Like they can be using their body and moving through the earth, connecting to the earth and doing what they came here to do. And that's really kind of my main goal with this work is how can we like align and connect you to move forward with understanding your divine connection to spirit, but your connection to the earth as well.
Beautiful. Soul's purpose. Now we are talking about zero waste and kind of the elemental body. The reason being, big marches happening, happened in San Francisco. So this whole conversation is, if I say to you zero waste and the elemental body as a tattoo artist, what do you think of? What do you think of with this huge movements going on? Is there a better way to actually create connection and mindfulness? Or are we just going to go out there and march for one day and kind of then leave it behind?
I think that, going out and marching and coming together it's such a powerful thing. It really is, it's bringing so much energy together and creating a huge shift, but there is more grounded, like practical everyday shifts that we can be creating within our industries. I think the tattoo industry is a tricky one because we, have to abide by certain like codes and laws and regulations and all of that. But I have found it actually pretty easy in the way that I practice because I don't use a machine. I don't use any sort of like sterilization machines because I just use single-use needles. So I'm not wasting too much, but anything from just using like biodegradable gloves, which is like an easy switch, and paper cups versus plastic cups, just like little things like that. It can actually be really easy. I um, yeah, I don't use very much. I don't have a lot of waste in my practice. Um, and that's something I'm pretty proud of. And even in the space I practice out of, we have like natural lighting, not using electronics. It's a very grounded and earth friendly way to practice. And I think in whatever industry we're in, we can just kind of take a look at, what we're using and how we can, you know, become a lot more minimal. And it is actually pretty easy, even when you have all these like codes and regulations and things that you have to abide by, it can be pretty simple.
So you do stick and poke? Is that how you?
Hmm.
Oh, I love stick and poke. I love
Yeah.
it. It's completely different. It's a completely
So
different
different.
experience. Can you tell us a little bit? And okay, have you ever used machine before or just stick and poke?
I've never practiced with the machine. I've picked it up before and tested it out, but it's never something that I felt drawn to.
So it was a conscientious choice to do tattoo the way that you do it.
Hmm. Yeah, it was almost like I never thought about the other option.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell people what stick and poke is for all those who do not spend time getting tattoos or
Yeah.
of their next tattoos like I do?
So, stick and poke is just tattooing by hand. It's no machines, no electricity, no noise. It's a way that you can really be so much more mindful about the work that you're doing in terms of like connecting to the body. Um, and it's also the way that tattoos have always been done. The machine is also like a modern man-made invention that hasn't been around very long at all, and it's definitely what really shifted the industry into like the modern tattoo culture that we know now. But you can still go to, you know, places around the world and receive this kind of work. I think it's just now kind of coming back into our awareness in our country. Um, People like me and other artists doing similar work, definitely like bringing it back to that simple nature of tattooing. But it's really, when I'm working by hand, it allows me, because I do energy work in my practice, it allows me to be working on so many different layers of the self. I can be connecting to the body, making sure like the temple is safe and the person's feeling comfortable and secure and grounded in their bodies, making sure that they're not experiencing any pain, which is like a bonus part because pain is the unfortunate part about getting a tattoo. Um, and connecting to the energy center in the body wherever the tattoo is being placed, and the spirit, and the emotional body, the mental body. It just allows everything to kind of come together, and you really are working much deeper than just like getting something drawn on your skin. And I think that this form of tattooing really allows for that, versus the machine where there's a lot of distraction just in like the noise and the vibration of it. And the way a machine tattoos is it goes a little bit deeper into the body than a hand poke tattoo, so it actually affects the nervous system, whereas the hand poking method doesn't do that, which is another reason why I'm really connected to just working by hand. It's much more gentle and mindful and less invasive, and there are less like there's no side effects other than the intention that we're putting into it.
Wow, that's beautiful. I have a tattoo. It's really interesting that half of it is stick and poke, and then the other half finished by machine because I was impatient and I was trapped. And the experience were completely different. The first one was done
Yeah.
by Jahan, an artist up in Seattle, and he did a prayer and ceremony and things like that. And I fell asleep when he was doing it. I've never fallen asleep.
Yeah.
Um, and then later he was like, "Okay, I'll see you later." And I was like, "Yeah, that's gonna be like in a year." So I still had it inked and came back and saw Wege Tattoos here in San Francisco and finished it. But it's amazing because the vibration of it, like you said, was completely different. The experience of it completely different. And I kind of like that I have them both together because it reminds me of my place kind of living in two worlds.
Yeah.
But I'll stop talking. I can talk. I'd love to delve into the name of your website, Wadalusi. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you kind of give us a background to what that means and the energy and how it's tied? And I hear there's a bee spirit involved. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I I've always been an artist. That was kind of my main path and goal and purpose, and something I knew I would always do. But I didn't want my name to be, um, like my name. I don't have a connection to my name at all. I've beyond my control. My name was changed twice throughout my life, and so it just feels not mine. So when I was kind of meditating on like what do I want my kind of like persona or artist name to be, I just heard Wadalisi whispered to me, and I didn't know what it meant at all. I had like no clue. I just Googled it. But I realized that it was bee. It meant honeybee in Cherokee, and my my grandmother had such a strong connection to the bees, and then my grandfather, um, her husband, was Cherokee. So it felt like how I could really honor my lineage and my ancestry and move forward with that. So the medicine of the bee spirit is all about unity. And if you think about bees, they're like not even built to fly, like the way that they're designed, like they shouldn't be able to fly, but they fly and they serve a whole hive, like they're all working together to serve the hive, which is a symbol for the womb or the feminine. It's symbolic of the womb, and it's their spirit has been something that's always my grandma and I, when I was young, we would just sit and watch bees all day on our balcony and just like marvel at their majesty. And so I've always had this really strong connection to them, and they'll like just come to me randomly, like anytime I'm outside, no matter where I am in the city, in the forest, like bees will come to me. And so I just had this strong connection. So when I realized that that name was calling to me, it just kind of clicked. And when I created like the website Wadalisi Woman, it wasn't soul tattoos. It was just like my expression for art and how I can kind of connect to other people through that. And it's gone through many stages of my artistic expression and now soul tattoos. But it's if the medicine of the bee is something that we as a collective can learn so much from, because it's coming together in unity to serve something greater than our personal selves.
I love that you talk about community. How can we build a stronger community that is a conscious community? Is tattoo a way to do that?
It's funny because through my work, I have seen it happen, and it's been really incredible. And I think that's like, the medicine of the bee kind of coming through my work. But back when I was working in New York, like so many of my clients now work together. Like they are a community, and I'm not there anymore, but it really has connected so many people with one another. And the space I used to practice in now, a lot of the practitioners, like newer practitioners there, were clients of mine. Like it's kind of like everyone did come to this hive, and it's really, really beautiful to see. And the like collaborations that have been happening around the people who I have worked together and I like not even knowingly have brought together. And that is something that I hope I can continue to do out here in San Francisco. I'm brand new here, but yeah, it's something that, you know, just finding, I think finding our communities um, can be a really daunting thing, especially if we're, you know, kind of new to spirituality or, you know, this kind of work. It can be hard to find that, but um, it's like the reason why I think the community really I created in New York. It's the intention and the medicine of each tattoo having. They all have a similar intention. It's like coming into um, the path and purpose of like love. You know, the path and purpose of what your spirit is calling you to do. And I think that when you can find community when you have that kind of intentions, you know, of just connecting to your heart space and getting out of your own way, really, and just following the guidance of spirit.
A lot of people that I've talked to over the past several days talk about an inner journey that one has to take, that radical self-love has to happen before you can truly be an activist, before you can truly activate your potential.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's not something that's like activated and you're on the path and you're good. It's definitely a never ending journey. You know, it is like radical self-love daily. And there is no quitting, you know, or putting that on the back burner to like focus on something else. It has to be your number one priority in order to be on a path of service, I really believe.
Yeah, and I love how you connect. You have to have radical love to be on a path of service. Sometimes we're always trying to serve without
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. Um, what would you recommend for people who are new to spirituality or new to tattooing? Um, what what uh, what wisdom would you give them in trying to, again, seek community, or and then we can do the seek what to tattoo.
Mm. Um, I think anyone who is kind of embarking on a spiritual path, um, it can be really like when you first kind of awaken to, you know, these awarenesses, you it's so easy to become like completely overwhelmed and kind of like, you know, almost like spin out. It's there's so much information out there, there's so many different like paths that you can walk with it, you know, but it really is like so unique to each individual. So I think, you know, just coming into your body and listening to your spirit and listening to the earth is kind of the number one thing that that needs to happen before you can really you know, ascend and move forward and connect to those communities and connect to your path of service or whatever it is that you're doing. But that connection starts like from within. So coming into the body, spending a lot of time in the body, nourishing the body, connecting to the earth, and because the earth is also our body. Yeah, just spending a lot of time there, and then with the tattoo work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Go ahead. Well, let me just jump in for a second, and I love what you just said, is listening to the body, to the spirit, to the earth. That connection, that the earth is our body, and again, I think this is kind of the theme that we're talking a lot about, is radical self-love connects us to ourself, to our body, and it is Mother Earth. And there, then
Mhm.
action from there becomes a love affair almost,
Yeah.
and it's created with a different energy than than the violence that has happened to Mother Earth. And so
Mhm.
I love that. That's what I'm trying to do, and what I talk about a lot. But so for people who are brand new to tattoo,
Mhm.
a lot of people, it's so funny because I travel a lot, and people are like, oh my god, I love your tattoos, or and they'll be like, oh, but I could never get one.
Mhm.
Some people are like, and I have a friend who has tattoos. He's like, why wouldn't you? It's a lifetime investment. Some people don't think of it that way. The
Yeah.
money that you spend, they're like, it's too much money. But again, that's self care. I get my
Yeah.
tattoos because they are part of my spirit animal. I mean, they come to me, and when I'm in Sweat Lodge, the visions come, and I go with it.
Mhm.
But other people say I could never think of anything. Um, so what would you say to those people who are kind of on that edge of maybe I want one, maybe I don't? What would
Mhm.
you say to those people?
Most of those people who are kind of teetering are my clients. They're the people who come to me. Because part of the reason why I think a lot of people are uncertain about like what do they get is because, you know, it has to be deeply meaningful. It has to be a reflection of the soul. It has to be something that is way more than body art. Like not everyone is going to be super into like, having their body covered with art. That's I think that's a very it's yeah, just a different perspective. But because my work and other people who are doing similar work, um, there is a deeper connection. It is these tattoos in my work, they serve as medicine for the spirit. So people are really drawn to that because it's a way to heal. It's a way to, radically self-care, self-love, and have, a piece of art to take away as a reminder of that healing and that love and that medicine. And because my work too, the design is channeled. So no one knows what they're going to get tattooed until they come to have a session with me, which I think helps to let go of a lot of control that people have around like the uncertainty of like, I don't know what I want to get, because you don't have to know. And no matter what, the tattoo's always uh, something that it's like your spirit recognizes it. So it's never something that you don't want on your body, because there is that connection because it is a reflection of your spirit.
Wow, that's powerful. That is definitely a very different way of intentionality and tattooing. So people must trust you a
Mhm.
lot. They must
They
trust.
do. Yeah.
That's great. How long have you been in San Francisco?
Not even a year yet. I came here in December last year. Yeah.
So
So.
it's a great city, but it can be a hard one for community, definitely. Um,
Oh yeah, I definitely feel that versus New York, but I'm definitely finding my way through it.
good. Well, you're always welcome out here. Anytime
Thank
you want to
you.
come out. One of the things that you talked about, and I'm also going to just call you Queen Bee because I think that's what you are, because you kind of create these, hives of people. Um, and what I love is grounded. Um, how would you how do you ground people um, into Mother Earth when you're doing these tattoos? What's kind of the process?
Mhm. Um, there's a lot of different ways, and it kind of varies between each client, how much they need to be grounded in their bodies. But we'll do like a really grounding meditation to start before we do anything. Because I think that's just like, step one, get in your body. If you want to receive any sort of healing work or, any sort of body work, it's so important to just like come into the body. So we'll do a grounding meditation, and then I'll often work with some grounding plant elixirs just to kind of like facilitate that coming into the body and sitting with like the spirit of a plant too. And then I'll do some energy work, but really based on grounding, bringing the spirit into the body and just connecting. And the whole process is actually pretty grounding. Even just like working on the body, I'm depending on like what my client needs, but I'll be kind of like not coaching, but like facilitating their experience the entire time. So if someone is having a, you know, emotional reaction because we hit some, you know, flow of energy, we'll make sure that we can allow that to flow and just be really aware of like how things are moving throughout the body. So yeah, there's just a lot of different ways.
Wow, that's beautiful. You spoke a little bit earlier about your industry, about small, practical, everyday shifts. What are small, practical, everyday shifts that we can do as individuals to attune to our body so that we can attune to Mother Earth?
Okay. Number one is just putting your feet on the earth for like 10 minutes a day. So simple. You can like be drinking your tea while you're doing it. But the earth's, you know, magnetic field, like its energy, really serves our bodies because, you know, we're the same. So when we just like put our bodies on the earth, like I always just, if I am having kind of an overwhelming day or feeling a little bit ungrounded or even just get like I'm getting sick or something, I'll just go lay on the earth, and it's an instant, easy, simple kind of quick fix. But it's a powerful one. So I think that's just key. And also the sun, getting natural sunlight on your skin. Especially during the like early mornings, like around like sunrise. That's when its medicine is like really potent for us. And so just like, you know, getting as much of your body bare as you can and going under the sun is a profound way of just like connecting to our bodies. And then I think movement also is one of the most like grounding practices, and not in a way like we're always constantly moving, like we're in a culture that like never slows down, we're always moving, but conscious mindful movement, really connecting to our body and like listening to it is like can create such a profound shift because we can really get in tune with what our body is trying to tell us. Yeah.
And what advice would you give for those people who don't know how to listen to their body, don't even know that their body speaks to them?
Mm. Spend a lot of time with your body. It's something that takes, it's like a muscle, you know, that you have to develop, that inner listening. So it's not, it just takes time and stillness and like connecting to the body, you know, moving your awareness like to different parts of your body, breathing into different parts of your body, and just spending a lot of time there and seeing what comes for you. It's going to be different for every single person, the way their body speaks to them. Some people's body speaks like, you know, really loudly in the form of illnesses or, you know, reactions, or, you know, and other people it's really subtle and it could be like a movement or just a feeling. So just getting kind of in tune and trying to spend a lot of time. Yeah.
Now, I know you spoke a lot about flower medicine and essences. Your picture that you sent, you with sage. Do you have any other things that you like for clearing?
Yes. I feel, I mean, you can cleanse and clear with any plant. Um, I think that we have to be really careful about the ones that we're over harvesting, especially in our country. Um, one of One that I really love to use because it grows crazy here and we have like a ton in our backyard is rosemary. And it's like you cut a piece off and it grows back like 10 times. So I've been using a lot of rosemary. I really love mugwort, which also grows crazy. Another one that I grow myself, just really cleansing, to like the feminine spirit, to like the psychic spirit, and to the womb. I do a residency in Arizona, and when I go there, I'll use chaparral, which is a really powerful cleanser, and it grows there. I like to work with whatever is kind of native to the lands that I'm practicing on, is just kind of like in tribute to those lands. Um, and we can really use anything, you know, like rose is a beautiful one that you can burn, and you know, promotes love and like self-acceptance and compassion. It's just about kind of like connecting to those plants that you feel called to, you know, because they're all really powerful and they all have such unique medicines.
Yes. Now, do you work with crystals as well?
um in my personal practice, I do. I don't really so much in my client practice. um they're definitely something that I've always used, but yeah, not so much like in my actual practice with my clients.
So in your personal practice, why do you use crystals?
um I'll use them for very specific things. I don't necessarily use them kind of in my there are certain ones that I'll use like in my everyday life. Like I'm always using selenite as a smokeless cleanser. I'll use black tourmaline, um, amethyst, and rose quartz. But I will often make like a crystal grid for a very specific intention, or like on my altar or something, if I am needing some of their assistance. But I work so closely with the plants and feel such a stronger kind of connection there to the flowers that those are kind of my main, those are my main tools, I guess.
What tips can you give to people who are harvesting rosemary and things like that, to do it in a mindful way?
Yeah. Um, Always give back. And it can be anything as long as it's coming from the heart. So, like, in since ancient times, like song has been one of the most powerful things, like using the power of our voice, because sound um, is just a powerful like energy clearer, and so and carries a lot of energy. So you can sing to the plant before you harvest, or like say a prayer. Um, if you don't feel like singing, you can like leave a piece of you in some way, like your hair, or you know, something like that. You can a lot of times I'll just kind of like lay my hands on the earth, and bless the earth and say a prayer. But it's really about like just making sure that you have permission first, you know, asking the plant, making sure that um, yeah, that there's like a clear okay there, so you can kind of just ask the plant like, can I harvest you, can I, you know, and wait for a response, and the response will come. It will just come through like however you receive your intuitive impulses in your body. For me, it's like a very quick yes or no. There's no like maybe, or you know, just a little. It's always like a yes or a no, and you have to just listen to that. If it's a no, then walk away, come back another day, ask again. Because that's also how you develop a relationship with the plants too, is being really mindful and respectful. So just giving yeah, creating some space there, making sure that you're not just taking, because that's like, you know, what our entire culture is doing right now, and that's taking us so far away from, that's what's really like taking us away from that connection.
Yeah, Sephora just came out with that. Did you see that? Did you see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the witch kits. That's, you know, and they're not the first one to do that. You know, this is definitely something that's been happening. I think that during this time, like there's obviously a market for it, or they want to be doing it, but during this time we have to use our voices to just teach, you know, teach people that like this is not the way you become a witch. Like this is not, you know, the way that you work with plants. And you know, instead of like, you know, trying to yell at this like big corporation, we just have to like teach the consumers, you know, how to navigate this world a little.
Yeah, the road is not a quick fix, or 5 minutes and here you go. Here's your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Very different road. I also look at it as, I mean, there's good and bad in that, in the sense they're going to do it because there's a demand, but why is there a demand? You know, there's a demand because
Mm-hmm.
the energy is rising up, and there's a want and a need to connect. So I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
double-edged sword in a way, but again, just have patience and have conversations, build community, you know, and be mindful, you yourself,
Yeah.
your practices, and that will inspire other people to be mindful. Well, we're coming almost to the end of our talk today, but I would love
Mm-hmm.
for you to, just for those out, because I not only do I want to get a tattoo, but I'm sure a lot of people afterwards. What's kind of the process? Of course, there'll be information on how to contact you attached to this video, but what's kind of the process other than you kind of take over and tune into spirit? But what would you tell people who are looking to book with you, kind of what the process is and what to expect, and kind of all of it?
Yeah. So, I mean, first step, if you're wanting to receive a session for me, go to my website, check it out, and then I have an application for booking there. And the application isn't so I'm like, trying to discriminate of who can receive this work. It's just so I can see who is really ready, and because there needs to be a desire for healing, in this work. It's not just like you're gonna go to a shop and get a tattoo. So I think that's important for me to like have boundaries with my work a little bit there. But each session's like pretty unique, but we begin in meditation, really to ground, let go, open, soften, receive, and let go of fears and any anxieties that are coming up, and really just surrender to the process. It's really the first step. And then I'll go in and start scanning the aura and the energy body. So by tapping into the energy field of my client, that's where I receive all the like messages and downloads that come in. And I'll look kind of just at the overall like auric image, or auric field, and also tap into different energy centers of the body, so I can get kind of a closer look of how the body is aligned in each person. And after the meditation, we'll have like a big discussion about everything, of what was coming through, and just reflect kind of each person's spirit or soul and energy to them. And it's very much of it's not like future based or anything, like you think of like getting your fortune read or anything like that. It's very much of how can your spirit come into wholeness, how can you align with your like authenticity, and align with your path, that your like soul came here to walk. So and then we'll create the tattoo together, which can be a very collaborative experience. Most of my clients completely surrender to it and just get whatever comes through for them, because like I said, it's always it's a reflection of their soul, and immediately a lot of my clients are just like, that's exactly it, without even knowing if that's what they wanted. And the placement for the tattoo is also a collaboration, but it does often align with where in the body you might be holding on to some energetic blocks. So where things might not be flowing, maybe you have like a really hard time using your voice and aligning with your truth, and so we put it on the back of your neck, or things like that. But that's optional as well. Like, I want my clients to be completely comfortable. It is their body. So it's something that we discuss and we work through together. And then we do energy work, we work with plant medicines. There's like a lot of kind of just a lot of my client completely receiving from many different levels, because this work is working on so many different levels. And the tattoo is kind of the last thing that happens at the end, after everything is complete. And yeah, a lot of my clients fall asleep, and kind of wake up, and they have this like glowy look that they are just ready to step into their path. It's really magical. And it's a really beautiful experience. They're really long sessions, but um, they're really beautiful.
They sound beautiful. They sound
Mhm.
Now we're moving into fall. Are there specific um, flowers or essences that we should be doing to kind of mark the change of season?
Hmm. I feel that right now, I think it's different a little bit every year, but right now we're kind of stepping into a place where we've been healing a lot this summer. Like the summer was like healing all around. It was a deep, deep healing, and we're we're ready to step into a space of like more lightness and more joy and more yeah, just more being. And one that I've really loved for this is lilac. Lilac essence teaches us about being in our bodies, being on earth, and allowing things to really flow. And I think that's kind of like, autumn is the time of the year where it's like the harvest, all the work that we put in, it's paying off. And so I think when we're in this like being state, we can better receive, like better receive what wants to come next for us. So that's one that I really love. It's really, I think, flower essences are so personal, so it's really different. I think for each person, and even the energetics of the medicine it's gonna react a little bit different for each person too. I also really love cherry blossom for joy and for play, which I think is kind of what we're stepping into, is like more letting go and joy and play, and just kind of like being in a state of being before we have to do more work again. So those are the ones that I think.
I've been huddled in a corner with rock rose myself. Trying
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
getting through the summer. I'm like, oh. So I'm happy for fall to fall upon us. Now,
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had time to lead us through just a grounding meditation, just very simple, doesn't have to be very long or elaborate, but if you could do
Sure.
that, we'll kind of say thank you and sign off. That'd be great.
Okay. Okay, so get in a comfortable position and just begin by taking some deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just feeling your breath in your body. And bringing your awareness to the tip of your head, down your neck and shoulders, into your heart space. Taking a deep breath here. Following down your torso and spine, into your sit bones. Feeling the weight of your body seated in the chair, the floor that you're sitting on. Feeling all the way into the soles of your feet. Imagining a cord coming from the soles of your feet through the floor below you, reaching down into the earth all the way to its core, firmly rooting you in the earth. Thanking your body for all that it does, for carrying your soul on your path. Your heart for beating, your lungs for moving the life force energy of breath. Thanking your body for empowering you to live out your earth walk. And taking 4 more deep breaths here. Feeling your breath go all the way to the base of your belly. And exhale. Taking a moment to thank the earth for her medicine, for her grounding support in love and creation. Thanking the earth for being a mirror. And wiggling your toes and your fingers. Slowly coming back. And softening to awaken. And opening your eyes when you feel ready.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ash, thank you for your time and for the work that you're doing. And I'll definitely be filling out one of those forms. And you're always welcome out here in Salinas. So thank you for your time. And thanks everyone for tuning in for another day of Green All Over. As you know, this is available today. And then if you'd like to keep it and download it along with some other of the talks and other bonus features, stay tuned, and there's instructions at the end of this video just down below. Thanks so much.